Three engineers broke every rule their own company had. Did it on purpose. Did it in secret. And the car they built, the car that General Motors explicitly told them they were not allowed to build, became the most important American performance car of the 20th century. This is the Pontiac GTO, and the reason it was banned has nothing to do with speed limits. It has to do with fear. The year is 1963. General Motors is the biggest automaker on the planet. Not by a little, by a mile. And GM has a problem, a political problem. The federal government is circling. Safety advocates are loud. Ralph Nader is about to become the most hated man in Detroit. And the last thing GM needs is a headline about one of their cars killing a teenager on a Saturday night drag strip. So GM's executive committee does something very GM. They write a policy, a rule, carved in corporate stone. No division, not Chevrolet, not Buick, not Pontiac, is allowed to put an engine larger than 330 cubic inches into any intermediate-sized car. Period. No exceptions, no appeals. You build family cars in that size class, and you keep them tame. This was not a suggestion. This was an order from the 14th floor. And for most of GM, that was the end of it. Chevrolet shrugged. Buick did not even blink. Pontiac had John Zachary DeLorean. DeLorean was not the man you picture from the cocaine trial and the stainless steel sports car. Not yet. In 1963, he was the youngest division head in GM history. 40 years old, 6'4", an engineer who dressed like a movie star and thought like one too. He looked at that 330 cubic inch rule and he did not see a wall. He saw a loophole. Here is how the trick worked. Pay attention, because this is one of the great corporate heists in automotive history. The rule said you could not build a car, a model, with a big engine in an intermediate chassis. Fine. DeLorean would not build a model. He would build an option package. Take the Tempest, a mid-size Pontiac. Respectable, boring, invisible. Now check one box on the order sheet. Option code 382, and the dealer pulls the 326 out and drops in a 389 cubic inch V8, 325 horsepower, a 4-barrel carburetor, dual exhaust, a Hurst shifter, stiffer springs, and a thicker front stabilizer bar. Same car on the window sticker, completely different animal on the road. If you checked the tri-power option, 3 2-barrel carburetors, that number jumped to 348 HOVA in a car that weighed 3,300 pounds. DeLorean called it the GTO, Gran Turismo Omologato. He stole the name directly from Ferrari. And if you think Enzo Ferrari let that slide, he did not. Ferrari reportedly threatened legal action. The Italian press called it an insult. A mass-produced American sedan wearing the name of the 250 GTO, one of the most sacred racing cars ever built. DeLorean did not care, not even a little. Now here's the part that makes this story stranger than fiction. GM's own management did not catch it until it was too late. The GTO was buried in the options catalog. It was not on any press release. It was not in any executive briefing. By the time the suits on the 14th floor realized what Pontiac had done, dealerships had already taken orders. Customers had already put money down. Killing it would have meant recalling order sheets, refunding deposits, a public mess. So GM did what every giant corporation does when someone outsmarts them from the inside. They let it go and pretended they had approved it. Pontiac's internal forecast? 5,000 units, maybe. A niche product for enthusiasts. A rounding error in GM's sales ledger. They sold 32,000 GTOs in 1964. 32,000. That number changed everything. Not just for Pontiac, for every manufacturer in America. What DeLorean understood, and what the executive committee did not, was that there was an entire generation of buyers that nobody was building for. Baby boomers, 20-somethings with factory jobs and no kids yet. They did not want a family sedan with a 6-cylinder and an automatic. They wanted noise. They wanted speed. They wanted something that scared their parents. The GTO was not a sports car. It was never trying to be. It was a mid-size coupe with an engine that had no business being inside it. That was the whole point. Affordable, loud, fast in a straight line. Completely, deliberately excessive. And it did not just sell. It created a category. Within 18 months, every American manufacturer had a response. Ford dropped the 289 High Performance into the Mustang and started building the GT350 with Shelby. Chevrolet rushed the SS396 Chevelle to market. Dodge built the Charger. Plymouth built the Roadrunner. The muscle car era, all of it, traces back to one options package on a Pontiac Tempest that was never supposed to exist. The media played it perfectly too. And this is where Jim Wangers comes in. Wangers was the advertising man behind the GTO. He was also, depending on who you ask, either a marketing genius or a professional liar. Possibly both. Car and Driver magazine published a now infamous comparison test in March 1964. The Pontiac GTO versus the Ferrari GTO. David and Goliath. Detroit versus Maranello. A $6,000 Pontiac against a car worth more than most houses. The article said the Pontiac won. Here is what Car and Driver did not say, at least not loudly. The test car was not stock. Wangers had arranged for a ringer. The Pontiac was modified, blueprinted engine, better tires. The whole thing was a setup designed to generate exactly the headline it generated. Did it matter? Not to buyers. 32,000 of them had already decided. But the controversy made the car famous in a way that advertising money could not buy. By 1966, the GTO was no longer hiding. GM dropped the pretense. It became its own model, no longer an option on the Tempest. It got a new body, a new nose with stacked headlights, more power. The 389 grew to a 400 cubic inch V8. And here is where the ban comes back. But not from GM this time. Insurance companies had been watching. They had data now. Young men in high horsepower cars were crashing at rates that made underwriters physically ill. Premiums started climbing, not gradually, violently. A 22-year-old buying a 1969 GTO Judge might pay more for insurance in a year than the car's monthly payment. Then the government stepped in. The Clean Air Act of 1970 hit like a wall. Suddenly, every engine had to breathe through emissions equipment that strangled horsepower. Compression ratios dropped. Leaded fuel was on its way out. The 1971 GTO made 335 horsepower gross. The 1972 made 250 net. The numbers were falling off a cliff. By 1974, the Big TO was an option package again, right back where it started. But this time, it was bolted to the Ventura, a compact Pontiac that weighed less but felt like nothing. No attitude, no threat. The name was still there, but the thing it named was gone. Pontiac sold 7,058 GTOs that final year. Then they killed it. But here is the thing that sticks with me, and I think it is the thing that matters. The GTO was never banned by a government. It was never pulled from showrooms by regulators. It was banned by its own parent company before it existed. and it got built anyway. Then it was slowly strangled by insurance actuaries and emissions engineers, who were not wrong about the problems, but who also ended something that millions of people loved. The car that broke the rules was eventually broken by rules it could not get around. John DeLorean left GM in 1973. He said the company had become a faceless bureaucracy incapable of making a good car. He went off to build his own, the DMC-12. Stainless steel, gull-wing doors, underpowered and overpriced. It failed spectacularly, in ways that make for a different video entirely. But for one moment in 1964, DeLorean did something nobody at GM thought was possible. He smuggled a banned car past the biggest corporation in the world, gave it a stolen name, and started an era. 389 cubic inches, 32,000 sold, 0 permission asked. That is the Pontiac GTO. If you had been on the 14th floor at GM in 1963, if you had seen the order sheet for option code 382, would you have signed off? Or would you have killed it? Drop that in the comments. I genuinely want to know. And if this is the kind of story that keeps you here, you already know what to do.